Good morning. Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. That can only mean one thing. It's time for the restart. It's bizarre, even though I'm stood in my own office, I can see out my garden, everything around me is familiar. I know there's nobody in the room, and yet my heart still goes to my mouth. I'm still pumping, still nerve-wracking, I'm still raw. This is still real. And yeah, another restart. So what is the restart? Well, restart Saturday at 9 is all about creating a moment in time. And this has been infiltrating, in Solvent, the life, the way things work. I built this tool because I needed it. I needed to be able to take control of my business, of my finances, and what I'm learning as I'm going through this process, I'm actually using this as I go along. And the thing that I'm going to show you today is the thing that I need to implement in my own life, because what it is, it's about creating a moment in time. I've changed the headline. We've just had a rebrand, and on the website, Solvent looks different. The landing page is different. The color scheme is different. The logo is different, but the application is still the same. It still works in the same way. But as the product grows, as the philosophy infiltrates and integrates with my life, so the product changes, And what I've come to learn is that Solvent is about creating a moment in time. Now the restart is a weekly moment in time. That's to stay here, and that's to look big picture. Restart Saturday at 9 became about creation. It used to be about destruction back in the UK. When I came to New Zealand, cleaned up, sobered up, now all of a sudden it becomes about creation, not about destruction. And the idea being is big picture check. How are we getting on? We have the goals. We know where we want to go. How are we checking it? How are we tracking against where we want to be? And then there's the use of Solvent, the tool. And Solvent, the tool, is all about the daily actions. Well, one of its tasks is about the daily actions. So I've been really good at managing the daily things that I need to do, my daily tracking, doing my transactions every day, the accounts. Does that number match the number in the bank account? If yes, job's done. If no, enter the transactions in here and put them in sync. That's my daily transaction. That's my daily discipline that allows me to see what's going out on a daily basis. So I know exactly what I'm spending or what I've spent overnight, what bills have been paid, etc. Yeah. What that doesn't help me with is the bigger picture, because each of those days combines together to make a month. And so, well, what happens at the end of the month or the end of the week? Am I in the same position that I needed to be in? And that's what a spending plan's all about. We don't like the word budget in Solvent. It's not a recovery friendly term. Budget is about deprivation. It's about fitting into where we are. A spending plan becomes about abundance. A spending plan, this is what I want to spend. This is where I want to go. These are the things that I want to achieve. This is what I want to do. So we use spending plan, and use that language throughout the site. It's very important. It's a mindset shift. Spending plans are about abundance. Budget is about deprivation. Okay, but it's the same principle. We need to tell our money what to do. So the thing that I found was with a spending plan, it's like, how do I know what I've got to spend? How do I know what's reasonable against my income? And whatever. There was no way for me to be able to tell that. So it was like a thumbsuck, and nothing ever matched. There was no, it was just, well, this sounds like a good idea. Let's put that number down there because it's reasonable. But the thing is it's theatre, it's fantasy, it's not real, it's not got any substance to it. So we needed to make a change. So we built it into the system. What do I want to do? Well, okay, before I want to do, like, sorry, start again, right? In Solvent, we like to look to the past to learn, no guilt, no shame, just awareness, right? So we upload all of the transactions and then we change our behavior one day at a time. Yeah. Solvent is not a magic answer, right? Solvent requires work, so it's not for everybody, right? Solvent is for the people that are ready to make a behavioral change around the spending with money. I personally, like I say, it was built for me. I had to learn how to have a conscious relationship with money. And what I learned is that awareness brings my choice. Shame and guilt doesn't. So it doesn't matter what's happened. It doesn't matter what I did in the past. But that information can still be useful. I don't have to close the door on that. I can actually look back and learn. What is it that I'm doing now? I don't regret any of it. It's happened. It's been done. I've had a good time and it's got me to here, right? So what am I going to do from here? Well, I'm going to change my behavior one day at a time by tracking my upcoming expenses. I'm going to look to the past to learn. So what we did was created a spending analysis, and the spending analysis will look at my transactions from the last 30, 60 or 90 days, right? Depending on what I'm working on at the time. Yeah. So I tend to work with 30 days. I upload my transactions. I've imported my transactions. I've tracked every day. So I'm still up to date. And now what I can do is I can go to my spending analysis and I can run a spending analysis that says, what have I spent in the last 30 days? That gives me an idea of where my money's going currently. It's an up-to-date snapshot, not to judge anything, not to feel guilt, remorse or shame, but as an awareness to say, well, this is what you spent this month. Is it likely that I'm going to spend that money next month? Well, some of it, yes. Some of it, no. So what does that mean for my spending plan? How do I pick the numbers based upon what's going on? And that's what I'm going to show you about Solvent today. It's kind of like, I'm going to show you how the spending analysis works and how to create a plan. This is the thing that I need to get better at. This is the thing that I'm showing you now, not because you need to hear it, but because I need to hear it. And this is how I need to adapt. We're at the end of the month. Today's the 30th of May. Today is the perfect time for me to create a spending plan for June. And if I can create a spending plan for June based upon what I did last month, then each week, each Saturday, after I've done my webinar and we've done our restart, my next task can be to check in with that spending plan. How am I getting on? What needs to be adjusted? Am I overspending on anything? Am I underspending? Have I got a surplus budget? If something's come up, an emergency payment, where's that going to come from? What do I have to take away? Because, the income's there. I've either got to make more money or I've got to take away from something that I'm already paying. Where's that sit? What does it look like? Is there an income source perhaps coming in? And that's where I can engage on a weekly basis, create that moment in time that will allow the spending plan to be somewhere where I wanted it to be at the end of the month. And now I'm living life on purpose. And that's where I want to be. Now I've learned, how can I have a conscious relationship with money? Well, I can change my behavior one day at a time by tracking each individual expense. And once a week, I can check in with my spending plan and I can see what needs to be adjusted based upon the numbers, not gut feel, not emergencies, not reacting to anything, responding to life as it happens, because life does happen. Expenses do come up. And instead of just throwing money at it, I'm terrible for making rash decisions in the moment. And all of a sudden, bang, I'll spend $1,000 there. Well, what impact's that going to have on my month? It's kind of like, if I'm not aware of what's going on, if I'm not aware of what's coming up, how do I know that I've got that $1,000 to throw at that problem? It might require a conversation instead. It might mean that instead of throwing $1,000 at that, I have to say, well, can I give you $250 over 4 weeks? And I know that because if I'm working my spending plan, I'm going to show you the cash flow analysis. I can see where my good times are, where my bad times are, when that money needs to go out. Because like Rich Dad said, money will not solve money problems if cash flow management is the problem. And that's the thing. It's kind of like, I can't just throw money at a problem if my cash flow isn't under control. Or I use control there And this is, I'm stepping away from the word control, because what I've learned is that control doesn't create choice. Control is me holding on and not letting things go. Awareness is what creates my choice. At the moment is what creates choice. So I think about money all the time, but have I ever given it a moment? I'm a big Matrix fan. In Matrix Reloaded, the Mayor Da Vinci said to Trinity, "My dear, how can we ever expect to have time if we never take time?" And that's the thing. If I don't take my time to do my numbers, if I don't take my time to weigh this decision up, to look at my cash flow, to see what's going on, when can I afford to pay this thing? Not if, because the money's there. It's just when should I pay it? That's the big issue with cash flow. And that comes true. If I take the time, all of a sudden I have the time. And that's what I'm going to do. Create that out. Show you this now. Finish the webinar. Go and create my spending plan for June. Put my spending plan for June in action. Next Saturday after the webinar, I'm going to check in and I'm going to see how am I getting on in June. Are we on track? Has my daily discipline helped me to be able to make better weekly decisions? So that's what it's about. Right, enough rambling for me. I kind of like, I do this, don't I? Let me just add this screen. As you know, we're not professional here. Right, spending analysis. So I'm going to assume, we've got different videos for different things. We've done the free plan. We did the trial last week. We did the time blocks. We've done import transactions when we opened the free account. So we've imported our transactions. We've created categories. We've checked out the time blocks. Now I'm going to assume that that's done. If it hasn't, there's videos there for how to do that. If you get stuck, give me a shout. There's a booking calendar now on the front end of the website. Get solventonline/book, and we'll jump on a call. We'll have a screen share. I'll help you do whatever it is that you need to do. Okay, but for today, we're in the trial account. I created this account last week on the 30-day trial. So you're going to see exactly what's going on. We're going to use it for personal, because we're assuming that money is the problem. If anything comes up through the week and we have people that want to see time-related things and client-based things, then we'll do that. We'll respond to what's going on in this moment. But I'm going to keep the sidebar. I'm going to keep it less cluttered. Right. All of that to get to the spending analysis. So in the sidebar here, we've got spending analysis. Okay. I'm going to come here first. Now, in order to be here, I've got to have transactions in the system. In order to get transactions, I've got to have accounts. If you're not at that point, go back, right? But you've got your accounts, you've got your transactions, you've got your spending analysis. Up here, we're going to choose which account we want to go into. I'm going to do the everyday account. And I'm going to do my spending analysis for the last 30 days. Okay. Now, when this screen loads up, this is my category breakdown. This is what I've spent in the last 30 days on these things. Right. So I opened this account last week. So last month, there isn't a lot of information in the system, right? I did an import that covered a little bit of last month, and you'll see why here, right? But what that means is there's nothing to compare it against. So my last 30 days is a baseline forming, right? Because there's not enough data, and we could have like a ridiculously high percentage number here, but that looks stupid, right? So we're forming a baseline. This is where you're going to pick the system up for the first time. Obviously, you're not going to have a current spending plan because there's not one for you, because you haven't put 30 days of transactions in. This is the first time you're creating a spending plan, so we're going to create it for the following month, right? You can do this month's spending plan, as I'll show you, but this is for the next 30 months. This is a deliberate plan. We're living on purpose. We're going to say next month, this is what I'm going to spend, right? So I've got my rent comes out in this period. Chances are that's not going to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that onto the plan. Yeah. Okay. That's pushed to the plan. That's now in June, right? First of all, I can do the whole budget as a plan if I want to. So if I think I'm going to do exactly the same thing, I just want to start quickly, bang, hit that button, everything goes on next month's plan. Right. But what we've got here is we've got drop downs. Okay. And in here, look, we've got 4 rent payments. The rent goes out weekly. So I get 4 there. Right. Groceries. Yeah. Well, I'm probably going to spend some groceries money. Yeah. So that's fine. We'll do that. Yeah. Power. Yeah. That's going to be okay. Fuel. I'm going to want some fuel. Okay. Right. Debt. Let's look in here. What have we got? In debt. Oh, we've only got 1. But let's say this was our last afterpay payment. Okay. So we don't want to do that. So we just leave it out of the plan. If we've got multiple payments in here, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something. We'll do it on takeaways. Right. So we're going to leave that off the plan. So I'm just not going to push that button. Right. Internet and phone. Yes. Internet is critically important. And boom. Pushed. Right. Takeaways. Let's say I want to spend less money on takeaways. So instead of having 2 takeaways in a month, I'm only going to have 1. So I'll take that away. Now if I push plan here, now I'm only going to push what I've selected into the plan. Right, eating out. Well, I don't want to eat out as much. How many times a day? Oh, I ate out a lot, look. Right, well, I had an argument with Annie because she overcooked my bacon. Obviously, coffee is critically important, so we're going to do that. I've gone off sushi. I had a bad reaction. So we're going to take off the sushi. Oh, and that's Annie. Oh, dear. Wow, so we're not eating out much this month, are we? So that's okay. We'll do that, and we'll push $6 onto the plan. Okay. DIY, obviously, that's going to be important. What is it? Mitre 10. We might leave Mitre 10. Subscriptions, these come out every month. Spotify and Netflix, yeah, they're pretty important. We'll put that on there. And coffee is obviously critical. The question here is not, should I take anything off? It's, am I spending enough? Probably not. So we'll push that onto there. All righty. So now we've dealt with our spending analysis. This is what we've spent in the last 30 days. We've gone through line by line and we've identified what is it that we're likely to spend next month. We've set ourselves some goals. We don't want to spend as much on takeaway or eating out. And that's what we want to spend. So this wants to be our plan for June. Everything's been pushed through. So what I can now do is come across into spending plan. I've got my spending plan. This is the business one. So we want the everyday account. It's going to say none because this is for May, right? Now you can create a plan here. If you're doing this on like the 3rd of the month and you don't want to wait a full month, you want to get some details in now, you can create a plan here and that will allow you to create a new plan and build it from scratch, right? What we'll do is we'll jump into here for June because this is where we've pushed through to. So we've gone to June. I'm going to load up my plan and here we go. So I've got $3,683. Okay, so this all depends on how often you get paid and how you want to do this. So what you can do is you can either, if you get paid monthly and you just want to add one thing in, then you can put a big number in here. If you break it down here and you put in multiple streams, even if it's only one, let's put salary in here. Yeah. And let's put salary on let's make it at the end of the month, like the 27th. And then let's make that, I'm going to just do this simply for the example. All right. So $4,000. We've got money to play with. This is obviously for the coffee budget. Okay. And we're away. So what do we want to do? Well, I've got this excess money, so I might want to put $100 into savings. Okay. And I might want to make a $50 on my debt payment. Probably should do that the other way around, but never mind. We're not financial advisors here. Okay. So, and then we can save those changes. If we've got custom expenses, an emergency thing comes up, we can add it onto here. Right? This is what we're going to be using through the month. This is where I need to come in, and this is my create this moment in time every week, so I can come in here and I can check. This is what I've budgeted. This is what I've spent. As my transactions come in through the month, this number's going to change. This is what I need to be looking into every week to see how am I tracking against what I'm spending. Am I leaving it for the whole month, coming back, and then all of a sudden I can't do anything about it? Whereas at least if I'm checking every week, then I've got some room to move. I'll check my transactions every day, so I notice if anything big comes up. If something big comes up, then in that moment, I can create another moment in time. I can come and have a look in here. Oh, this emergency's just happened. I'm going to add the expense in here, and then it's going to come onto my account here, right? So we've got our salary. We've got a date of the 27th. Let's put this on here. So rent, let's say the rent's due on the 4th, right? Groceries, they're going to be at the end of the month because they're going to be continuous. Now I can only add one date here. This might change in the future because it just might. It might be that this isn't working for me, because I'm going to, maybe I fill up once a month, which is fine. But what if I went like I don't go shopping once a month. I go shopping weekly. So I might need more dates on it, and we're gonna have a look at it and see. It's kind of like. But what I do is if it's a weekly thing that I do, I put it to the end of the month because that's when I'm going to need it. Cash takeaway. I don't know when I'm going to have the takeaway, so let's just say, well, it's a monthly thing. So I'm going to do it sometime through the month. Subscriptions. So I got 2 subscriptions. They're not both going to be due on the 7th. They're probably going to be due on the 1st, actually. Let's be honest. Right, and coffee again. This is critical. 31st. Right. So I've got to here. My payments are done up. As they come through into the month, then this is going to start and populate, and it will, no transactions this month, but as my first rent payment goes out, it'll come in here and I can compare. What am I doing against this, right? So I budgeted for $7.50 for coffee. That's only going to get me like 1 3/4 coffees. Okay, so we need to do something about that. I'm looking at my thing. I've got $167 unallocated. So that means I can add $100 to my coffee thing. So that's 107.4. Okay, right. And then once we've got to the end of the month, then everything on here, these graphs are going to come alive and they're going to be showing you what you have actually spent versus what you planned. And that's how to start living life on purpose. Look, it's telling me I've got unsaved changes, save them. Right. Now, $67 unallocated. Takes a little while because it's updating in many places. Okay, so bear with it. Right. It's doing all of its calculations. Yep. So this is the watch part. I might just take some water. Thank you. Right, so that's changed. Did that save? Should have done that. Hasn't updated yet. There it goes. Updating its stuff. Right. So now I've got a plan for the month. I know what I've got coming in. I know when it's coming in. I know what I've got going out based upon what I've spent for the last 30 days. I've now got a document that's living. I can make changes to this document at any time. So let's say an expense comes up for $67. I can just add that custom event into here, and it's a custom one-off. It's an emergency that came up. It was $67, and maybe I needed, I don't know, a new t-shirt or something. And I added that expense because I have $67 unallocated. That's fine. But what happens if something goes wrong with the car and it's $450? So now I've got to put my custom payment in, and then I have to come around and I have to play with these numbers. What's going on here? What do I have to change? You know, I've got my savings, I've got my debt payments. Is that okay? When are they coming out? Let's have a look, right? So one of the things that needs to happen is when. You know, when is that payment due? When is it going on? Because we know we've got the money, but it depends upon what time of the month it hits. So we need to go to cash flow, right? My balance goes negative. So for all this time during the month, I've got negative, which is not really ideal, is it? You know, because if this is a physical number, I don't get paid till the end of the month, all my bills are coming out here. So I've got to do something about this. Now, maybe it's because we're just starting and this is going to fix itself as we go along. But you can see what happens is this is about, we know we've got enough money, but for so much of the month, we're in a negative vibration because we're feeling like we haven't got enough, you know, and it's feeling like things are getting on top of us because there's never enough money. Okay, so what if? I'm going to click this what if button here. Now we're in what if mode. So what we can start doing is playing around with some dates. So let's have a look. The obvious fix is my salary comes out on the 27th, right? If that was for the 1st, and if I base that on the 1st, and like I say, I'm keeping this simple for the example, right? So salary now goes there. Let's see what happens. Now, did that update? I think it did, yeah. Yeah, but it's still going negative here because what's going on here? So this is the 4th. So what happens on the 4th? Oh, my rent goes out on the 4th. But the thing is that's not my whole rent. You know, there's only $650 coming out here. This is why I might need more payment in here, so it might change, yeah? So even though it's the 4th, actually, this number here, this 2,600 number, isn't going to be till the end of the month. So let's change that back round. So we'll make that on the 27th, which is when that was. Okay, so what happens here? I'm going negative. So this negative here, 14th, what goes on the 14th? Nothing. Power comes out on the 15th. So this starts coming in. But you can see what I can do here. I can start messing around with everything. And this is not negative actually. Where does my balance go negative on here? Oh, here. Goes negative down here, look. Right. Okay. So June 27th, the balance goes negative because we're waiting for the end of the month. Okay. So what happens if the rent, we just play with numbers, play with them. I want that to come out on the 1st. Yeah. And I want that to be the 2nd. Yeah, that's right. So now we come into the month on a negative, but the rent came in. And what we're doing here is, like I say, we're just playing around with some numbers so that we can see what happens if we change the dates, because it's not always about the money. Sometimes it's about when does that money come out, you know, and this is what this allows us to do. So if we change things around and we decide that this is what we want, then we save the changes. If we don't, we can just exit, or if we want to reset and start again, that's where we started off. So now we can start playing around with some different dates just to see what goes on. So like I say, kind of like when it's real data and it's going in, you'd be able to mess around with it. It's going on. I've tried to make this simple for the example and it hasn't really worked very well. But you get the gist. That's how to live life on purpose. So what we're creating here is we're creating a weekly moment in time where we can check in, we can play around with the numbers, we get an overview of what's happening. So you can see as things come up through the month, if instead of making a gut decision, a gut reaction that goes, all right, yeah, okay, well, I'll just throw some money at that and hope it fixes the problem. You know, what if throwing money at that causes a bigger problem? And the only way that I can decide that is by looking at this document. This is my plan. This is my roadmap. This is where I want to go. This is how things should be. This is what I've got the resources for. This is what I've planned for. You know, something happens, and it does happen. You know, maybe I've got it in savings, maybe I can pull it out of savings. I'm not great at saving. You know, it's kind of why? Because I keep throwing money at problems at the wrong time of the month and create myself more problems further down the line. So this is the bit that's my new focus. This is where I am. You know, we talk about Solvent coming in and meeting you where you are. This is Solvent meeting me where I am. I'm at spending analysis. I'm at spending plan. This is what I need to work on next. Okay. That's my goal. After this thing, after this webinar, I'm going to go and create my own spending plan. I'm going to get into my personal account. I'm going to log in. I'm going to do my numbers from yesterday. And then I'm going to go and create my spending plan for next month. Then next Saturday after the webinar, I will check, you know, I'll do my daily tracking every day because I'm changing my behavior on a daily basis. That's still important. That creates a daily moment in time. This creates a weekly moment in time, creates or a monthly moment in time. Yeah, I would say weekly. Restart Saturday at 9 is about this weekly moment in time. It's about engaging with this document, what's come up, what's likely to come up, you know, let's move things around, manage things, and now we're living life on purpose. And none of this has to take long. Once the system is set up, right? Solvent is not about magic answers happening in the background on your behalf so that when you come back all of a sudden, woo, everything's great. Yeah, it's not about that. You know, I was always, you know, I'd always set some Google ads off on and I'd wake up the next morning and I would want everything to be there when I've had 1,500 sales overnight while I've been asleep. You know, all of a sudden I've got all this money and it's just fixed all the problems. Yeah, that's not real. That's not real. Solvent is for those people that understand awareness creates choice and those that are looking to make behavioral changes. Yeah, we don't want the system to do everything for us. We want awareness so that we can make better decisions. If I make better decisions, then I get better outcomes. You know, if I get better outcomes, then I start to feel better and I get the things that I want. You know, so that's what it's about. That's Solvent. That's the spending analysis. And I think that's us. So it's been fun. It's always fun. It's hard work. What we got? We're down to half an hour now. That's about right, I think. I think half an hour is around about the right time. So anyhow, I'll be here again next week. I will have my own spending plan. I will have tracked my numbers through the week, and I will have checked how I'm getting on. You know, I will engage with that spending plan. So as always, if you've got any questions, please do shout out. I'm going to try and post a comment here because I don't quite know how this works yet. I'm still on the free plan. I'm still evaluating this. I shouldn't be, but I am because I haven't put it into my spending analysis yet. Yes. So I'm still looking at StreamYard. It's an excellent system, and I will buy this. I will buy this. It's just a matter of when. That's the thing that we're working on now. When am I going to put this in and do it properly? Because I don't see live comments, I don't think, and that's why I want to do this now. So get Solvent online/book. Get Solvent online/book. Appointments, book up anytime. The YouTube brand, the YouTube channel needs the rebrand. The Facebook page needs the rebrand. It's going to happen. It's live on the website right now. Go check it out. Book an appointment. Let's get on a call. I'd love to chat with you. My name's Matt from Solvent. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.